Hi, welcome to my deck profile for Tri-Brigade Spright Gladiator Beast for Master Duel. First off, you're probably wondering why, which we'll get into that. But now Tri-Brigade Spright is like a real deck that people actually put together and play, and you'll probably see it somewhat consistently on ladder since Spright came out. That is, of course, when you're not getting a train run on you by Runic Spright, Sword Swell, Math Mech. But I will say Tri-Spright is it's pretty consistent. They can put up some strong boards, has a very strong advantage generating engine, so it's got a lot going for it. However, what it doesn't have is it doesn't have heart. More importantly, what it doesn't have is spice. And I assume you're looking for some spice. And we got the spice for you right here, Mr. Gamer. But also what I've got for you is a throwback. I'm talking the original OG archetype. Don't fact check me on that. The Gladiator Beast. If you've somehow arrived at this video, I'll assume you're some Yugi boomer that is desperate to keep Gladiator Beast relevant in 2023 in some vain hope of reliving some past nostalgic glory from like 2008 or 9, where you got third place or so at your locals with your trash Gladiator Beast deck. You know the one I'm talking about. You know, they're on like two Murmillo. You got Econs in there, triple Waboku. You know, defense tactics is getting run. But you're carried the entire time by popping cards left and right with Geyseris. I mean, hypothetically, yeah, you know, that's why you're here. But I've got some bad news for you, friends. The Quarry set 3 pass isn't going to cut it anymore. In fact, the main deck Glad Beasts and their battle phase gimmick won't really cut it all anymore, and probably never will, no matter how much support that they decide to print for Gladiator Beast over the years. Good luck getting a single Glad Beast to stick to the board, survive to the battle phase if you have a battle phase, survive the battle phase, have their effect resolved without getting negated, and then I don't know, to like pop a single back row and put a 1500 body on board. Um, that's really not going. That's really not up to snuff anymore. However, Glad still got something going for them, and what that is heart. I mean, I don't know. I didn't read the lore. I skipped through it because I wanted those gems. But I do know that the Gladiator Beast have some of the craziest fusion boss monsters that have ever been printed. I'm talking big stats. I'm talking swarming. I'm talking negating. And I'm talking hop-in. We've got Tamer Editor, who can cheat out any other Glad Beast fusion, no restrictions. 3,000 booty. And, more importantly, the summon, it's a soft once per turn. I'm sure we won't take advantage of that. Actually, that's the joke. We're going to abuse the hell out of that. I'm going to loop him to get out all of our busted fusions in one go, which we'll get into. But also, we've got our main boss monster, Domitianus, and let me tell you, he can dom me anytime if you know what I'm saying. Editor, please take that out. This is a family stream. But anyway, he's got 3,500 attack, huge, an OPT monster negate that also destroys, and also kind of funny, you get to choose your opponent's attack targets. And I promise you, dear listener, your opponent is never, ever going to read that effect. They've probably never seen a Gladiator Beast before in their life. They're not about to read them. But after that, we've got, back from 2007 himself, Mr. Heraklinos. My man Herc, still bonkers, 3,000 attack. You know, the thing about old cards is he is not printed with a soft once per turn. He's not even printed with a soft once per chain. You can just, as long as you've got cards in hand, you're negating spells and traps. Pretty crazy. And then last but certainly not least, Mr. Carry the Archetype on my back, Geyseris himself. Solid stats, 2,400. More importantly, on summon, pop any 2 cards face up, face down, and that is on special summon, not fusion summon. So that counts whether he's brought back with Tamer Editor, whether he's possibly reborn with a comeback, you know, kind of crazy. So you're probably sitting there saying, great, they've got broken boss monsters. Find me one crummy archetype that isn't total cheeks, that doesn't have insane boss monsters. I mean, that's probably countless of them. But what if I told you we could actually summon ours? And pretty easily, too. We just have to use an actual good archetype. I'm talking about the Tri-Brigade. That's where they come in. So I'm going to assume you're familiar enough with Tri-Brigade to sort of understand what they do without going completely card by card. But just generally to summarize, they fill the grave with a bunch of beasts, Beast Warrior, Wing Beast. It's the Tri-type. if you will, and they each share an effect where you could banish a number of tri-type monsters from your grave to then cheat out a link summon equal to with a link rating equal to the number of tri-types you banished. Typically, you're using it to get out there in archetype monsters, but it's actually only restricted to the tri-type monsters, and it turns out that the Gladiator Beast have two of them. We have access to our battle phase, and we can get a single Tri-Brigade effect to resolve simply banishing two and getting out this bad boy. We can turn this board into this board. So, I mean, that's pretty good. So this kind of brings us to our major thesis of why are we running this deck? Are we just running this deck to meme around with Gladiator Beasts? I mean, you know, that's part of it. It's fun, you know. But really, the deck actually has a purpose to it. Spright is, like I said before, it's highly consistent, good at generating resources. However, the ceiling is rather low. And I mean, if you've played the deck, you probably know what I mean. Really, your best end board you're ever putting up is like Apollo Revolt Pass, which is, I mean, that's a decent board, but most meta decks are going to be able to crack that no problem. Spright definitely improves that, but with access to like Elf and Smashers as some additional interruption and removal and resource generation. But still, the ceiling is not going to be that high on that deck. So what we're going to do is we're going to lower the floor of our deck by including all the crappy main deck Gladiator Beast monster, but then we're going to greatly raise the ceiling of our deck by gaining access to all of the Gladiator Beast fusion monsters. So I mean, sadly, pretty much any Glad Beast is going to be a hard Garnet. Um, is it good to include 6 Garnets in a deck? No, obviously not. You want to include as few as possible. However, Glad Beasts actually aren't the worst Garnets ever because they're all tri-types, so you can discard them for Kerass, or you can banish them to activate a Tri-Brigade's effect. Also, you have some nice interaction with Farid Cheat and Bearbrum, where you can spin the worst cards in your hand back to deck. So if these cards are just dead in your hand, you can spin them back to deck. Probably more importantly, Tri-Brigade and Spright have plenty of one-card starters and one-card full combos, so we can sort of get away with opening 1 or maybe even 2 dead cards. I mean, it's not ideal, but you'll still be able to put up decent boards, maybe even game-winning boards. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to brick. By God, you're going to brick. Once you see what the kind of board you can put up, you're going to see that elevation is strong enough to warrant running, or at least your consideration. So despite the fact that our Glad Beast combo requires the battle phase, you actually want to be going first with this deck. And the reason for that is you're going to want to set up with your Tri-Brigades and your Sprights. And you're not setting out to put up a game-winning board of negates and interactions. What your main goal is you're going to use the Tri-Brigade and the Sprights to either bait out hand traps, bait out negates, and use up just in general your opponent's card advantage. If you're going 1-for-1 or close to it with each of your opponent's cards, then on the crackback you'll blow them out of the water when you can turn any single Tri-Brigade monster from, once again, I'm going to show the picture again, from this into this. You're going to be like +4 up on them. You're going to have more bodies and negates on board than they'll have cards, and they basically just have to scoop after that. And sometimes the Tri-Brigade Spright package, it's good enough. You're going to put up a board with them that your opponent's not going to be able to crack. And you'll just win just off of that. I mean, that is a competent deck, and we are running the competent pieces from that deck. I'm not going to give a real in-depth card by card for every card. If you have a specific question about inclusion that I don't cover, put in a comment below. I'll try to go over it, but I do have a confession to make. I'm not very good at this game. So you might be able to put up some ratios for a deck that's better than me. The deck does have a bunch of awkward locks you need to be aware of. For instance, anytime you activate one of the Tri-Brigade's special summon effects, it is going to lock you to only link summoning with Tri-type monsters for the remainder of the turn. So that means you won't be able to link summon with any of the Sprights. You can still Exceed and Fusion. You are locked into that. Spright Starter and then Gigantic Spright do lock you into the level 2 rank and links and monsters. for the remainder of the turn, so do be aware of that. The only last one that really is worth considering is that Bear Brum's search for a spell or trap also puts a lock to where you can only special summon Tri-Brigade monsters after it resolves. So I've also included in the description of this video a Google sheet that shows some of my recommended, I'll call them bread and butter combos. I've kind of ordered them from in order from best to worst. Which ones like I think you should try to go for. You'll just have to practice them, get comfortable with this sort of deck, just sort of getting grasps on what to go for and when to go for it. But of course, always know game stage, your build, the meta, I don't know, weather may mean some other line is better for a particular given moment, so just try to use it as a general guide. It's also in this video I've included a video of some of the combos just as a video guide just for your reference as well. So we'll go through some of those more important combos later. So next let's get into a quick and dirty card by card. Alright, the hand traps. You know them, you love them, your preference. Same with crossout. Might include something just as a small crossout package. I'm not including the Nibiru. Gigantic Spright plays around Nibiru great. I honestly think people are going to start cutting Nibirus, but I could be wrong with Mathmech still being a problem. But like I said, it's your preference. I'll go over some cards at the end of the video for other considerations. But in terms of the actual meat and potatoes of the deck, let's go over the Tri-Brigades first. Since there are good cards, as many of each of them as possible. You could possibly shave Nerval and Kerass down to 2, but Nerval with Almirage can act as a starter for your plays if you open complete crap, which sometimes happens. And then Kerass is a level 2, which actually combos well with the Spright package. So I like keeping them at a high number. Whatever you think, you might want to cut them down. You also I went 1 Revolt. Sometimes it's nice running 2. If you draw your Revolt, it still gives you something for Bear Brum to search. And Revolt's not a bad card to draw. In terms of extra deck for the Tri-Brigade, we're going to get 1 Almirage. That's a starter because you can link off Kitt or Nerval, which is going to trigger their effects when they hit the grave. After that, we've got Farajit, Extender. We generally just use it just to link off Bear Brum to trigger Bear Brum's effect. Bear Brum is just used to search Revolt. Simple as. We are running a 1 of Rugal. Sometimes in suboptimal combos, you are only able to go into Rugal, and I mean Rugal's effect isn't bad. And sometimes if your opponent has called by, you might not be able to go into Shurag off a Revolt, so you have to go into Rugal. So I think he's pretty much needed to be run, and he's not the worst card ever. But yeah, we got Rugal at 1, and then of course the 1 of Shurag. I'd love to run more copies of these cards, but like I said, when you're mixing 3 decks together, the extra deck space is extremely tight, and unfortunately, the Gladiator Beasts take up 6 of those slots. So cuts had to be made, and I made them where I could. Alright, for the main deck for Spright, we're going to have Spright Starter, no pun intended, it's our best starter in the deck. 1 card combos, absolutely insane. We are on 3 blue just because you open Kitt, or you can get Kitt or Kerass to hand. It combos off great. It's going to allow you to set up very nicely and get some nice resource generation going. We are on 2 Jets. Sometimes Jet, if Jet is the one that starts your Spright combo, you're going to be searching starters instead of smashers. And then when you summon blue, I just wanted someone else for blue to be able to search, so I'm on 2 Jet. I am running no red and no carrot, which you might think is bad, but number one, they can kind of brick your hand, especially in a deck like this. But number 2, because of Revolt, we really need to keep we need to keep at least 4 monster zones free in order to summon Shurag off the Revolt. So we really can't afford to be summoning red or carrot on the board, even though they are nice negate. It could possibly make your Revolt dead or just not as strong. So they ended up getting cut. If you like them, run them. I mean, they're obviously good cards. How I've been running the deck, this is how I like it. In terms of the extra deck, 1 Gigantic, 1 Elf. Once again, I'd love to run probably at least another copy of Gigantic, but just space is so tight, just not going to happen. For the Gladiator Beast, main deck, their effects hardly matter, don't worry about it. The only one that could possibly ever see coming up is possibly Noxious. He's got a weird Battle Fader effect, but if you're activating that, you're probably losing that duel anyway. Maybe Bestiary you might be able to pop a back row if it comes up. We are on 2 Augustus. In case you draw 1 in the hand, you need to make sure there's still 1 in deck to keep your combo alive. If you draw 2 Augustus, you probably weren't winning that duel anyway, so just don't worry about it. Other than that, for 1 spell, we are on 1 comeback. Basically like a monster reborn. Just note the restriction that you can't have the monster coming back share a type with a monster on board. Really, we're just using this to loop our Tamer Editor, and Tamer Editor is a Beast Warrior. So just be on the lookout for that. And the way we set up the combo, it's not an issue, which we'll go over. Extra deck for the fusion monsters, we already went over from Glads. But other than that, we got the 2 link monsters. Panther. Panther you will never summon with the Tri-Brigade effect because he will not activate his effect to search a spell because he was not link summoned. But he is part of the combo that you will see. Other than that, we got Dragasses. He is basically our full combo. If you get access to the battle phase after he battles, he is able to tag out into 2 Glad Beasts with different names, which means we can go into 2 Glad Beasts that are level 5 or higher, which allows us to summon Tamer Editor off of a single card, which we summoned off of a single Tri-Brigade effect. And also, kind of nice, he can't be destroyed by battle, and when he attacks, your opponent can activate cards or effects. So feel free to just crash him into whatever. Maybe take out something. You may probably just end up taking some damage, but great card. Sucks that you have to actually attack with him. Other than that, we got some staples in here. We know we got Duster, just some cheeky back row removal. Foolish is basically our 3rd copy of Fraktall. Slightly different, but just don't worry about it. Too tanky to search Fraktall, simple as. 2 called by, mandatory, cross out, just, I don't want to lose to Max C or another hand trap. 2 droplet, I really like it right now, and you have a lot of dead cards in hand sometimes, so you don't have an issue with discards. 1 imperm just as a cheeky cross out package, and then, it's a good card. But that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead and get into the combos. After we go over combos, I'll showcase a few duels, and then at the end, like I said, I'll go over some other cards you might consider. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so the first combo we're going to be showing off, it's the Glad Beast combo, since after all this is a Glad Beast video. The setup is any 2 Tri-types engraved and a Tri-Brigade monster on board. So we've opened Tenki, so that means Fraktall into Kitt. We chose Kitt in this instance in case our combo gets interrupted. We have a level 2 on board, so we might possibly have the Spright follow-up. I'm not going to do that for this combo video. In fact, just ignore every other card in my hand except the Tenki. So you can see we're dumping Kitt. Kitt dumps Nerval. Nerval searches Kitt. Then we are going to normal summon Kitt. Activate Kitt's effect. Banish 2. Since drag, the Glad Beast Link monster is only link 2. Doesn't matter which zone you summon them in. We're going to go straight into battle phase, and then feel free to crash them into anything. Remember, they can't activate effects, and you can't be destroyed by battle. You might take some damage, or you might be able to clear something off the board. You can activate his effects, send them back to deck, pray there's no Ash. And then you're going to get out Nox and Augustus. If you have another Augustus in hand, you might be summoning something else, but typically all you need is these 2 to hit the board. You're going to activate Nox's effect. You're going to send Bestiary to the grave. That's going to come up in a little bit. You have 2 Glad Beasts on the board that are level 5 or higher, so you can go into Tamer Editor. Then you're going to activate Tamer Editor's effect, which will allow you to summon Dom. You have to go to Dom at this point, not Herc, even if you want to go Herc, because Herc is a Beast Warrior, which you'll see when we get to the next piece of the combo. So we're going to link these 2 off for Panther. On Summon, that's going to trigger Panther's effect. Panther's effect is going to search out our Gladiator Beast spell. So we're going to activate Comeback, and since we don't control a Beast Warrior on the board, we can bring back our Tamer Editor, and Tamer Editor is a soft once per turn, so we can once again trigger his effect. We're going to go ahead and fire that off, which will allow us to summon Heraklinos. And now we're going to activate Panther's other effect, which allows you to spin a Glad Beast on the board back into the deck to special summon one with a different name. We'll get Darius. Darius' effect will activate to summon a Glad Beast from the grave. We're going to grab our Bestie that we sent earlier. Bestiary's effect is mandatory, so you are going to have to target a spell or trap on the board, but don't worry, it is negated. And then we are going, at this point, you can either fuse off into Xeris to pop 2 cards, or you can use the Panther and Bestiary and Darius as link material for Apollo USA. Just to show it off, we'll just go ahead and go into Geyserus here. So summon Geyserus, activate his effect, you can pop up to 2 cards. and it's up to 2 cards, so you can you can choose one if you want. At this point, you could link it off into a Spright Elf, and you could possibly make some plays there, or you can just leave that board. That board itself is pretty strong, so that's our first combo. Our next combo is when you have Fraktall and Spright Starter in hand. This is probably your strongest going first hand if you don't get it interrupted. Once again, ignore any other cards in my hand except for Tenki and Starter. But we're going to go ahead and use Tenki, search Fraktall, we're going to activate Fraktall's effect. We are not going to send Kitt at this point because we want to hold Kitt's effect to chain block later, so just send Nerval. So Nerval's effect activates, which will search Kitt. Then we are going to normal summon Kitt. At this point, we're going to activate Spright Starter, which we will special summon Spright Blue. Blue's effect will trigger, which will allow us to search for Spright Jet. And now we can special summon Spright Jet, which will cause his effect to trigger, which will allow us to search for Spright Smashers, which we can use as an interruption on our opponent's turn. At this point, you don't need to do the Xseed summon here, but we're going to because it plays around Nibiru. So go ahead and overlay for Gigantic Spright. After you activate this effect, your opponent will no longer be able to use Nibiru, so we'll go ahead and do that there. You're going to want to detach Kitt, but don't use Kitt's effect yet. At this point, search Kerass. It doesn't really matter, but you need to search Kitt or Kerass, but usually go Kerass here, just get a different name engrave. Then you're going to link these two off for IP Mask, and then you're going to link the other two off to go into Spright Elf. Then you're going to use Elf's effect to bring back Kitt. I'm going to use Kitt's effect, Banish 2, which will allow us to special summon Bearbrum. And then we're going to link these two off for Verajit. Now you're going to want to chain block the Bearbrum's search effect to play around an Ash if your opponent was possibly holding it. So you're going to do CL1, Bearbrum, chain link 2, Kitt. Dump anything with Kitt, probably a Kerass, it doesn't really matter. You've used all their effects so far, but just get more tri-types engrave. And then Bearbrum's effect, search Revolt, send whatever your worst card in hand back. Doesn't really matter. And then we're going to set Spright Smashers, and we're going to set Revolt. I'll go ahead and show it on this follow-up turn. But in terms of interruption, we have a Spright Smashers. We have Elf as interruption. As soon as my opponent summons a card, I can use Elf, which I'll show here, which can bring back IP Mask. So I'll go ahead and bring back IP Mask. And then I didn't toggle on because I'm a casual. But if you had toggled on, I would have been able to IP Mask immediately, but we'll do it now. So we'll IP Mask. We're going to link off Verajit and IP Mask for a 2-mat Apollo. Unfortunately, that's all we can really fit in the extra deck. There's a lot of other options you can go into, but that's all we have in this build. So IP Mask, and now we have 4 spaces open on the board to activate Revolt if you want. You can activate Verajit here. Sometimes you can find a hand trap or something more useful to you here. But we'll go ahead and activate Revolt now too. We have plenty of materials in the grave and banished for it, so we can go into Shirag. So we'll go ahead and grab 4, summon them all. I love having to manually click each one of these. Link it off for Shirag, and then we're going to put it in the Spright Elf zone because that makes him untargetable. Else we have to. And then activate his effect on summon. You can chain block a Nerval search here. You could also chain block Shirag's effect here if you wanted to, if it mattered. But it depends on if your opponent maybe has a Baron on a Baron on the board or something like that. Okay, so go ahead and banish this monster even at the end of his turn, and we still have Smashers set, and this is a pretty good board we're looking at. This one requires either Kitt or Kerass in your opener, plus Spright Starter, Spright Blue, or Jet. If you open Jet, the combo ends up being just slightly different because you'll have to search starters in order to summon Blue, and then you won't end on Smashers. But other than that, just to start off the combo, you summon Kitt, you activate your Spright Starters, or you would summon your Extenders, but you're going to go ahead and summon Blue here. Blue's going to search Jet. You should probably know the next step after that. So let's search this Jet. Special summon Jet. Jet triggers, search Smashers. Now we're going to overlay for Gigantic. In this version of the combo, you do have to go into Gigantic. Activate Gigantic. You're going to want to detach Kitt so we can trigger Kitt's effect. You're going to search Kerass. If you open Kerass, you'll search Kitt here. Just flip them around, but we open Kitt, so we search Kerass, but we're going to activate Kitt's effect. Send Nerval. Nerval's effect. Search Fraktall. And of course, activate Fraktall. We'll just go ahead and send Kerass here. We're just trying to get Tri-types engraved again. We're going to link off for IP Mask. And link off for Elf. All these combos end up looking very, very similar, but just because this one's just slightly different than the Fraktall opener, I wanted to show it off. So now you're going to activate Kitt. After bringing it back with Elf, banish 2. Summon Bearbrum, link them off. You know how it goes. Farajit. Activate Bearbrum, search Revolt. Set Revolt and Smashers, and you're good to go. Alright, so this is my recommended opener if you open only Spright Starter. I know we all see Fraktall there. Just pretend you're at a party. Fraktall's your ex. You want to say hi, but you know you shouldn't. You're here with Spright. And Fraktall, without Fraktall, he's been bad to you in the past. And you've sworn off Force Boys because of him. So we're just going to pretend he's not there. Anyway, like I said, this is my recommended opener if you open only Spright Starter. You're going to go ahead and activate that Spright Starter. You're going to summon Blue. Blue's going to trigger. Activate his effect. You're going to search Jet. Now you can special summon Jet. And until we've seen this one before, use Jet, search Smashers. We'll use it as interruption on our opponent's turn. Now we're going to overlay for Gigantic Spright. Activate Gigantic Spright's effect. Detach, usually just do blue, it doesn't really matter though. And then you're going to special summon Kitt. Now you're going to link these off for Elf, not IP Mask. I'll tell you why not IP Mask here in just a moment. We'll go over that. Kitt's effect's going to trigger. We're going to activate it here. We'll go ahead and send Nerval. Nerval will get us a search. And we are going to search Fraktall. And you know what, Fraktall? I can't stay mad at you. Let's go ahead and fire off that Fraktall effect. And since you already ditched Nerval and Kitt, you can't do them again, so we're just going to send Kerass. We're just trying to get Tri-types in the grave for our Revolt follow-up. So now we're going to activate Elf. Elf's going to bring back Kitt. I generally put it in the Elf link arrow zone so they can't be targeted with like an Imperm or a Veiler. You're going to banish 2. And you're going to summon Bearbrum. Simple as. Link those off for Farajit, just get Bearbrum's effect to trigger. And search Revolt, send the worst card in your hand back to deck. And now I know someone in the comments is going to put below how I could have gone into the IP Mask and that I could have set up IP Mask for next turn. And we're going to go over why that's not good. See, this line of play sets up 4 Tri-types in the grave. So that means we can fire off Revolt immediately at any moment. As I show in the next combo, that's not going to be possible right away, even though we sort of do get 4 Tri-types in grave. You need to remember that Bearbrum we sent to the grave, because it was summoned by a Tri-Brigade's effect, it wasn't properly summoned, so it can't be resummoned with Revolt. So you need to get actual Tri-Brigades in the grave that you can use immediately. So anyway, we've rewound back. We're back at the point where we have summoned our Gigantic Spright through our Spright starter line. So anyway, we are going to summon Kitt. Now at this point, we're going to link them off for IP Mask. And they're also going to trigger Kitt, send Nerval. Nerval is going to search Kerass. And we haven't normal summoned this turn because Spright starter special summons. So we're going to normal summon Kerass. And then we're going to use those 2 to go into Spright Elf. Now we're going to activate Elf's effect. And it's going to bring back Kitt. We're going to use Kitt to banish 2. And we're going to summon Bearbrum. And then we'll link both those off for Farajit. And trigger Bearbrum, search Revolt. Set the Revolt in the Smashers. And now we're potentially set up for the stronger turn, but really we've actually set up for a weaker turn because this Bearbrum was not summoned correctly, so it can't be resummoned with Revolt. So really we only have 3 Tri-types in the grave. So we can't really use our Revolt. I mean, we could go into Rugal, but we can't go into Shurag, which is the the good play that we actually want to do until we have managed to get this Farajit into the grave. Because the Farajit was actually summoned successfully. It was summoned by a correct link summon. So we can't do that until we've been able to summon IP Mask, and we can't summon IP Mask until our opponent's normal summons a monster onto the board. That's when Elf can bring back IP Mask. So that play loses really hard if your opponent is going to open with a Cosmic Cyclone or a Duster as their opening play. You don't really have a way to avoid that, and a lot of people are running a lot of back row hate right now to deal with Runic. So the other line I showed before, I think, is the optimal line. Even though you don't get to set up the IP Mask, you do have your Revolt online immediately rather than waiting. The last combo I have for you in the video. I believe the combo spreadsheet lists more, so I encourage you to review it. But more importantly, I guess I encourage you to just play around with the cards yourself. Maybe you'll find a line you like better, or a line that's just better than any of the ones I have listed here. It's not like I'm actually good at this game. So yeah, feel free to check that out. But this combo is if you open Fraktall and any other Tri-Brigade monster in hand. What you're going to want to do is, of course, activate Fraktall. And then you're going to send Nerval. You're not going to send Kitt at this time, in case you need to chain block something later. But you are going to use Nerval to search Kitt. Then you will summon Kitt. You'll activate it, banish 2, and then summon Farajit. Careful on where you place Kitt to make sure you're not going to block Farajit's link zone. And same with the summon here. So you're asking Farajit, that allows you to special summon the other Tri-Brigade in your hand. Now, if Kitt was the other Tri-Brigade in your hand, you would have searched someone other than Kitt, but you still start off with the normal summon Kitt. You are going to link off Kitt for Almirage. That's just going to get Kitt into the grave, which will allow you to trigger Kitt, send someone else. You are going to have to tribute that Almirage to free up the link zone. Then you're going to activate Kerass. You're going to banish 2. Then that's going to allow you to summon Bearbrum. And now you are going to link off all 3 for a 3-mat Apollo. You could do a 2-mat Apollo. I don't know why you would. You might as well just get the 2,400 tax. Much better than 1,600. But anyway, you are going to activate Bearbrum as Chain Link 1 in order to chain block, and then Farajit Chain Link 2. And you're going to draw, send your worst card back, search Revolt, and send your worst card back again. I don't know why I sent Called by the Grave. I was literally just clicking buttons. But anyway, set the Revolt pass. You have 4 in grave, and you have a Apollo with 3 negates. Not an unbreakable board, but it is a pretty decent board for it's kind of like a subpar opener. Alright, so to start things off, I wanted to show a duel that really shows the strengths of this deck. So we're going to go ahead and start off by activating Kerass, ditch Kitt. He's going to chain max C. We are going to respond with the Ash. And it is just that simple, folks. You literally just that easy. Just win the max C minigame, and you two can make it to Diamond 1. Alright, so how about an actual duel? So somehow I lost the coin flip, I know. It's a skill issue. And we're against Exo Sister. I've never read an Exo Sister card in my life, and I am not about to start. So we're just gonna... We didn't even open any hand traps, so go off, King. Let's see what kind of crazy board you can put up. And he's building a board. I'm sure some of you Exo Sister enjoyers will love to explain in the comments what the hell is going on. Yep, there's another lady. Here he goes. Okay, so it's my turn. I get to go. Alright, so, okay, yeah, drop it off the top's not bad, you know. Okay, Maxi. Well, we've got the Called by. Maxi minigame 1 again. Let's go. Oh, my opponent's going to stay in this one. Okay, okay. Well, let's go ahead and activate Fraktall. We're going to send only Nerval for whatever reason, you know. My brain wasn't functioning. I didn't think I need anything extra in the grave. It's going to activate that effect. We are going to chain Droplet. He is going to banish, and he's not going to banish my Kitt for whatever reason, so that's going to allow me to activate my effect because we can banish that Darius we discarded. And now this man is just going to be left scratching his cranium, trying to figure out what the hell is this man doing. But you and I both know, dear friends, what's going on here. So we're just going to do the Glad Beast combo. We don't have Darius, so the combo is going to get a little different here. We did have a Jet in hand, so let's go ahead and summon that now. We've got a level 2. Alright, so we're going to link those two off into Panther. Panther's effect's going to activate. We're going to search the comeback. We're going to activate the comeback. We're going to bring back the Team Redditor, activate his effect, but this time we're going for Geyserus, who's going to pop his board. Oh, the Droplet's still there. Bye-bye board. Let's go ahead and send you back to the deck. I can use you later. Link you off into Elf. Come back. Starters, grab blue. Blue, activate, search another Jet. We'll overlay these two for Gigantic. And he scoops them up. Now I know what you're thinking here. You're thinking, wow, Matt, a red would have been really nice there. Well, my opponent didn't know I didn't run red. And sometimes the cards that your opponent thinks you run are more important than the cards that you actually run. I think Plato said that. But anyway, let's go on to the next duel. Now I know what you're thinking, friends. If any deck opened called by a starter and Droplet, they'd probably win too. You know what I'd say to that? Well, I'd say you're probably right, but let's see how this goes. Let's take a look at my hand, and wow, this hand is ass. But let's see what we can make happen. So go ahead and start off open Nerval, link him off for Mirage. That's going to trigger Nerval. We're going to search Kerass. We're going to activate Kerass. It's obnoxious to the grave to trigger his effect. My opponent is now going to fire Maxi, and once again we win the Maxi minigame. Let's go! Alright, trigger Kerass, banish 2. That's going to bring up Parajit. Link, exceed them off for Gigantic Spright. Ooh, we're going the Spright line. And Sprite's going to search Depths, we're going to set Smashers, and we will set Revolt. Now, remember that mistake I said before not to make, where the links to the monsters are fake. They're not actually Revolt targets. Well, I'm about to make that mistake. And look what we got. We got a Runic matchup, and not only that, it's Runic Spright. But unlike my opponent, I'm actually good, and I won the Maxi minigame. So he's going off, and he is giving me resources back, and that's what's happening. So I really didn't want him to go any further with the Spright line, and I wanted to get my card in the grave, so I went ahead and fired off Smashers in order to get Parajit in the grave, but I made that mistake, so I went ahead and activated Revolt now, but it was only for 3, so we've got Rugal, but I would do what's called a pro gamer move, and I found my Ash Blossom out of nowhere off of Parajit, so we're going to be able to negate that Gigantic Spright. He's going to go ahead and fire off his Fountain when he actually has a spell. That's fine. You can negate Rugal. I didn't need that monster anyway. You can have your one draw. It's going to be nothing. Capture. Cool. He gets one more draw. It's going to trigger, and he's got IP Mask. So I've got a million cards. His like 2. Let's just go ahead and fire off Kerass again, and we have a million Tri-types in grave. I know we couldn't do Spright last turn, but let's make it happen now. Banish 4, and here's the boy. Activate his effect. He's gonna Smashers, and he's just gonna scoop it up. He does. He's done. There's nothing left for him to do there. Alright, so last duel I have for you, and I know the last question you have is there ever going to be a game without Maxi being involved? And as long as John Konami's at the helm, the answer to that is no. But actually I do have one duel for you, and we're going to go ahead and start off acting Fraktall to try to bait out an Ash. No Ash, so we're just going to go off. We're going to send Fraktall. We're going to send Nerval. We're going to search Kitt. We're going to summon Kitt. We're going to do our Spright line. We had to go Jet first because I was the one in our hands. We're not going to get Smashers. We are going to be able to go the full combo. We're going to go IP Mask. We're going to go Elf. We're going to bring back Kitt, and Kitt is going to banish 2. And you know what Kitt banishes 2? You know who you get? You get Bearbrum. And with Bearbrum, we're going to link up into Parajit, and then we're going to trigger Bearbrum. We are going to search our Revolt, and we know we've got 4 Tri-types in grave. We've got IP Mask. You know we've got plays to make. What is our opponent going to do in response? Fair enough. Okay. Not happy about that. That basically shuts off all our plays, but it's just some boring ass runic. Once again, thank you, John Konami. So he's gonna do runic things like I'm not really gonna respond. Smashers would have been nice, but you know, as they say, it is what it is. Oh god, he's got the card demise too. You know, he's just gonna draw 30 cards, and that's fine. That's just good game design. Just good game design. What's that? His guy's gone, so we're just gonna go ahead and fire our Revolt now. He cannot respond with anything because it's all set. And the boy's here, and he's top tier. And we're gonna trigger Nerval to get an extra card. We're just gonna blind banish. Probably the worst hit possible. But let's see what we can do on my turn. And he is going to shotgun that Tiku. Let's take a look at the board real quick. Oh, that's right. We're the Tri-Brigade. So that does nothing to my board. And would you look at that? We have... Exactly. Yeah, you go ahead and make that search. Because your fountain's gone. That card is dead in your hand, and we have exactly 8,000 on board. Goodbye, Mr. Runic Man. So yeah, this deck can even beat Floodgate Turbo. So these are some other cards I just kind of put together that you might want to consider running. Like I said, a lot of the deck comes down to preference. I mean, first off, you got Hand Trap lineup. Gamma is kind of nice to consider to stop an Ash on either your Spright starter, your Tanky, or your Fraktall searches. Do have to include another Garnet. We're already up to our ass in Garnets, so I wanted it. So I'm currently not running it. Maybe you like it. Maybe you'll run it. DD Crow is interesting with the deck because Shurag, when he goes to the grave, he can search. He can search a Tri-type, so you can DD Crow becomes searchable, which is kind of cool. And he's got some interesting applications against some of the decks currently on the ladder. And he works really well if you're running Rescue Cat. There's a Rescue Cat combo, which I won't go into the video, but as part of that, you can summon Shurag in order to just search the DD Crow, just as some extra interruption. Rescue Cat is good to consider. He's definitely, like, for pure Tri-Brigade or Tri-Brigade Spright, he is definitely by far your best starter. He is going to put out the strongest board possible for you. Unfortunately, he gets absolutely obliterated by any hand trap in existence. If your opponent hand traps your Rescue Cat, you're probably losing that duel because it's very unlikely you have any follow-up at all. Other than that, you might want to consider the adventure package. I don't know where the hell you'd find the space, but I mean, you could run it. But with Enchantress at 1, probably not worth. And like you saw in the combos, the deck is great when you get access to the battle phase. You may want to consider running it as a dedicated going second deck. And then that's when you're going to throw in, you know, your extra. It's when you're throwing your evenly matched, your lightning storms, your lava golems, your kaijus. Worth considering. I don't think it's generally worth it, just because you're just going to get blown out by some sort of interaction from your opponent, a hand trap or a negation, and you don't have the most extenders in the world in the deck. So I think it's better to run it as try to go first if you can, eat up your opponent's cards with the boards you put up, then finish them off with the Gladiator Beast. I think that's the better way to play it, but it is worth considering. Other cards to consider, Gladiator Beast Quest is an interesting consideration. You could run him alongside of Darius and Bestiari, or you could run him instead of Darius and Bestiari. Either way, it's either going to raise or lower your Garnet number. On Gladiator Beast Effect Summon, he adds a Gladiator Beast card from your graveyard to your hand, which is pretty cool. It's some extra resources, or it at least gives you one more card to discard for Heraklinos. He's also a Winged Beast, which pairs well with a Blink monster you might want to consider, which is Simurgh. I know as part of the combo, I recommended just going to Apollo USA. Alternatively, you could like use Bestiari and the Link 2 Panther to go into Simurgh since he's only a Link 3, or you can do like Darius, Bestiari, Fusion Summon into Gyzarus, pop 2 cards. Gyzarus is also Winged Beast, Gyzarus, and Test Panther go into Simurgh, and then Simurgh you're going to want to include Apex Avian in the deck as just another Omni Negate that you put up. And then Quest can do that as well, just because he is a Winged Beast. Just like I said, space was tight, especially in the extra deck, so I couldn't find room for Simurgh, and Apex Avion, that once again is another Garnet. He is a Garnet that works well with the Tri-Brigade since he is a Tri-type. And then Sigmarg is a pretty strong card with the Tri-Brigade because they can summon him as a Tri-type Link monster. Out of all the things I ended up not including, this one I might recommend trying to fit in if you can. Other considerations, some other Tri-type Link monsters if you can find the space. Scareclaw is interesting. In certain instances, you may find where your combo got interrupted. You have less Tri-types and Graves than you need, and you can go Lightheart just as a banish one. It can sometimes make your Apollos bigger, or it can keep your combos alive. So it's definitely good in Tri-Brigade if you can find the space. Double Dragons is great when you can summon him. Once again, I just couldn't find the space. Most Tri-Brigade decks include him as part. If they can go as him as part of their end board, they like doing that. Just good interaction on your opponent's turn for a decently low investment. Doom Eagle's interesting. Kind of works as a DD Crow, and then he can be big. He's a Tri-type Link monster. He's interesting. Nightmare Griffin could be, you could go into that off your like IP Mask and Spright Elf play as a way to just basically like shut out the duel. It's pretty cheeky and pretty stupid, but it might be worth considering. I would love to run a second Shurag if I could. It's really strong. I'd recommend it. And then other than that, just staple extra deck stuff. You got your Nightmare Phoenix, your Nightmare Unicorn, access code Talker. No access code in the main deck. I know I would love to do it. He's just he's the best finisher, but just finding space just not going to happen. And then Underworld Goddess just it can be pretty cheeky with IP Mask. And that pretty much covers it. I mean, there's a billion cards in this game. I'm sure I didn't include everything on this list of other things you might want to consider. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to your preference. It's going to come down to your play style. And it's going to come down to what kind of ratios you like. So test some stuff out. If you find something you like, let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll go ahead and pull the deck list up here again in a second, just for you to review one more time. So once again, here's the deck. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, let me know, and see ya.